Did he take the other chair?
No, it's right behind you. He just folded it.
Oh. Oh,
Tucked it away.
I see these things on Instagram when they talk about like men not being able to find stuff, and then I'm
That
like,
is the truth.
I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. But then every day I'm like, where is this?
No, let me tell you, he would be here. He'd be like, nah, it's the opposite. Because usually it's me. I'd be like, honey, where's the keys? I'm touching them. And he's like, you just touched them. They were like right in front of you. I'm like, oh, okay, you win.
Thank you so much for allowing me into your home,
Thank you for coming.
specifically into your studio where it seems that you make everything happen.
Yes.
So let's start off. Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, nice to meet you as well. Thank you for coming and reaching out so quickly, by the way. That was pretty cool.
Oh no, definitely, because I feel like this is something that works for a while. I know I saw you were making candles a little over a year ago. So I think it's more so great to see that you're still at it.
Yes,
So
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so my name is Jasanea Hernandez. Actually, Jasanea Corretger, right? Because I just got married on February 4th.
congratulations.
Thank you. I have to change the labels to everything now. So you'll still see Hernandez roaming around.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what do you do?
So I make candles. I'm a mom. I work in the cafeteria. So I'm a, what do the kids call me? Lunch lady. There you go, lunch lady. I say, yeah, I'm a lunch lady. But this is my passion. This is my business. It's been my passion for many years. I want to say maybe 5 years-ish. Around there.
Specifically candles?
Specifically candles, yeah.
Okay.
So I've just, played around making my own just because I love candles. I love fragrance.
So so this has been your passion for 5 years, right? And your company's called Tender Time Candles.
Yes, Tender Time Candles.
Give me some background. How did you come up with the name and how did you get started?
Okay. So Tender Time Candles. My husband and I, back then, my fiance, we were just, so again, I just started making my own candles. It wasn't really something, I'm talking about 5 years ago, 4 years ago-ish. Once I kind of established, I started doing actually pop-up shops, right? One of my girlfriends were like, oh my God, you make amazing candles. Can you make like 40 candles by this weekend? There's a pop-up shop down the street. And I'm like, I have 5. Are you kidding me? I've never done a pop-up shop. I had no idea what that entailed. What do I bring? What do I make? I have no idea. Clueless, right? I did it. I actually did it. I did like 50 candles that weekend.
What was that process like?
Oh my gosh. It was exciting, but I was just like, I had no idea what I was getting myself into at all. Excuse me. I was just like, oh, this sounds fun. This is cool. I did automatically think of, wow, I can definitely, because I already enjoyed it, right, for myself. But I never thought of putting myself out there to people, to saying, okay, hey, I got products over here too. You're interested? It's candles. Everybody loves candles.
Because now you have a passion and now it's time to find out if people like your stuff. And that like, I'm only thinking, like, I'm imagining, like, if people don't like your stuff, does that ruin your passion?
You know what? No, because I enjoy doing it for myself more than anything.
Okay.
So, but the fact that people do enjoy it and do like it, it's so uplifting, excuse me.
Okay.
It is so uplifting and it gives me that extra push. So going back to how I named my candles, so that was a little bit of the background of how I started, right? That was my first pop-up shop. After I went there, it was pretty slow. I mean, it was a really like in the cut sort of pop-up shop. There wasn't too much traffic. So, but people that came, bought. So I was just like, even if I had one sale, I was just like, wow, this is awesome. Somebody came to my table. They liked my product. They liked what I have.
Something that you created.
Yes.
And do you remember the candles, like the specific scents you made for that pop-up shop?
Yes, I do. Oh my God, it was like watermelon, man cave. That was one of I made like 3 of those, but actually my coworker bought one. She was like, girl, I need more. That specific one. So I remember that one was really popular. It was a lot of fruity ones. And it was just like, they weren't these, fancy ones. It was just like just plain candles, right? So yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. Like I said, even the fact that just one person, I did receive a really encouraging advice from a lady standing next to me. She was doing t-shirts. She was like, let me tell you, you are going to, she kind of like just went down like, you started doing this. You're going to do body butters. You're going to be doing, well, not specifically body butters, but she said lotions, soaps. You're going to be doing great things. And I'm just like, yeah, no, this is hard enough. Like,
This is enough right now.
This is a lot. It's a lot, but it's fun. So I just kept going to pop-up shops, getting referred to different pop-up shops. And I kind of was just like, let me play around with this. Let me play around with that. Let me do room sprays. Let me do, just entertain other kind of, areas of, I would say, non-essentials. It's just non-essentials. You know what I mean? They're just more gosh, they have a name for that. When it's not a necessity, but you like to buy it. They haven't.
I can't get it either, but I get what you mean. It's like they bring the things together.
Yes.
So you started off making candles. Just so I don't forget, Watermelon Man Cave was the name, right?
Yes.
Do you still have that?
I don't. It's funny. I don't, because they ran out of that. So, the fragrance, some of them are limited.
Oh.
So sometimes you can't even find them. Yeah, and I had just bought
that.
like just a little jug, not like a big, huge jug. So.
If they bring it back, I need that.
I got you. I think you're gonna love it. It's really good. It's like it's like a watermelon hit, but it's actually a masculine scent to it. That's why I call it Man Cave.
Okay.
As weird as that sounds, the combination worked.
I'm looking forward to it. So you said you just started with regular scented candles. How did you make the transition to the decorative candles that you have been posted on Instagram? Because from what I've seen, they're very intricate. So they look amazing. I want to let you know that right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. And really, it was my son. He was my inspiration. I'm gonna put that out there. He deserves the credit. I would not have been brave enough to dive into like that. This right here, what my business has become. It was because of him. I remember him specifically telling me, you should do the cereal one, Mom. And I'm like, you have no idea what it takes to do one candle, let alone a cereal candle, right? It's fun, like I said, but it's tedious. And I'm just like, wax, the little tiny melts, and it's just like it's really tedious.
It's gotta be.
Time
because
consuming.
like when I see the intricacies of it, I'm like, this, you have to do like each like loop at a time.
Yes, absolutely.
And when they burn, like, are those multiple scents, or how does that work out?
So if I have like, let's just say a strawberry vanilla, it's gonna have both scents, the strawberry and the vanilla. So you're gonna have a hint of, or it's gonna be mainly strawberry with a hint of vanilla. The sundaes, they have hot fudge, smells like hot fudge, vanilla. They're just so much fun to make. And yeah, you'll literally your house will smell like a bakery if you buy one of those. That's not only what like I said, I do I do subtle smells. I also work with beeswax, which beeswax is, my son has asthma, so I have to be careful on what I do. And I do throw that out there. But people that love aesthetics, that's the name of it. Okay. Aesthetics, they're drawn to what I create. So. And
you said you specifically use using beeswax. Is that like?
So there's different waxes. So that have a little bit more of less allergen.
Okay.
Per se, my son has asthma, like I said. So I tend to burn beeswax in the house because I love just burning candles.
That's what you use in all your candles.
So no, I use soy wax, which is really good as well, but it's still, no matter what, is going to have some sort of, some sort of allergen, or so I always, when I speak to people, I'm like, okay, are you allergic to this? I love to conversate with people, and if they tell me, oh, well, I'm allergic to cinnamon, I'm like, okay, well, stay away from this candle, or this potentially has, so that's how we, it's just about a lot like what you do, just have a conversation with people, and sometimes they don't even like candles. They're like, I love what you do, but I do not burn a candle. Do you have, and that's where my room sprays come
Yeah, I
come
like
to
that. I
play.
like that. So you find
Yeah.
what they need.
Yes, exactly. Yes. What suits, what's better for them, really.
And was that in your growth process, like I imagine coming out, you the product you just had what you had to offer, I assume. So like, where did you find that transition or the need to be very to individualize your service per se?
Yeah, well, like I said, talking to people, a lot of people that I spoke to, my son, my own experiences, I'm like to see what works for us, not only me, because I like certain things, but I also have to accommodate, my children and specifically my son and whatnot. So that's where I came about selling my product also. I don't know if you're familiar with Edge of the Woods. It's a store, it's a health store down the street. It's a mom and pop shop, very small. And they don't, they don't like they don't work with they don't do the fragrance, they don't do any of that. It's very all natural stuff. So I enjoyed that challenge because usually what I do is fragrance. What I do is aesthetics. What I do is, is pretty. It's very, like you said, intricate. But I also had that awareness of, okay, well, there's this, group of folks that love candles and also are interested on having a variety, with whether it's not scented, whether it's, whatever it is that they're looking for. I enjoy that challenge of,
Like that.
okay, let me just try it.
It takes a lot for a person to reflect and realize they can change their services to serve more people rather than realize my service might not be for you, but
Right.
this can be for you.
Absolutely.
I like
Absolutely. That was huge. Yes.
that. I saw on your Instagram that you did a candle workshop. Tell me a little bit about that and how did it come to be? Because that's awesome.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, was my first one. So my very, very first one was for a bridesmaid. And it was actually a family of mine. And she was like, I was thinking, they actually shot me a text. They were like, what do you think? Again, I didn't even know how to go about that, right? What do I do? How are they going to melt it? How are they going to create it? I had no idea. So obviously doing a little bit of research and, opening myself up again to a challenge, which was awesome. I mean, it was just, it was like, it was amazing. Everybody had a great time. They had fun doing it. It worked. Like, I made it work. It was my very first one, a bridesmaid. The second one was also a bridesmaid. She saw through my Instagram, reached out, and she said, hey, actually it was, I digress. It was on a pop-up shop. But I knew this particular person, and she said, hey, my girlfriend, she's getting married. She doesn't know. Would you be willing to do a candle making event for her surprise bridal shower? So that was my second one. It worked. It was amazing. Everybody had a great time. My third or fourth one was for the church that I attend. And this was a huge group. At this point, I've done it for up to 9 people. This one, I believe it was 28 ladies.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of people.
A lot.
That's a lot of people.
Yes. And then talk about choices. Like, I had a table full of fragrance where they were like, why'd you give us so many choices? I'm like, I don't know what you guys want. What you guys, whatever, from bakery to like cologne, or whatever you guys.
What was the duration of that class, like time frame?
So it lasted, we had a good about 3 hours so behind the scenes. So I was there, of course, setting up prior to. So it took us all 4 hours, but the event was from 6 and it ended up around 9. So it's about 3 hours. It was fun.
Is that a lane that you plan to explore further?
Yes. So that was my all-time favorite one. And really it was, I just, you know what? It was funny because I had prayed on it and I said, I want to use would I have gotten the grace to create with my hands, right? For even a greater purpose that I didn't originally intend. So it wasn't my intention. This is what I'm going to tell you. I didn't originally start because of this, right? But now my thinking derailed me. My prayer derailed me and was like, no, okay. What I'm going to do for you, this is God, right? This talent that you have is wonderful, but you're going to use it for my purpose. You're going to use it for my glory. So now what I have done, and this last event, which was for the church, kind of opened my eyes in such a different way that I want to teach people, but I want to also spread God's word. I want my sole purpose of my business to be behind spreading the word of God, if that makes any sense. And I know this, this was like, whoa, really? Yes, it really honestly opened my spiritual eyes to seeing that the need of people goes beyond my little talent. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And so how do you find service through your work?
So right now, okay, so aside from my business, the business that I will continue to work very hard on and also intertwine God's calling and word with it, I also am a part of Hope House in Connecticut, which is a nonprofit organization that helps the community, that helps specifically the homeless and youth and children that need. So when I tell you this has opened my business is opening doors that I had only prayed upon. I mean, I kid you not. This is just the beginning of, I feel, of my bigger purpose for God.
Well,
If that makes any sense.
No, I get you. And it's interesting. So to give a little background, while I was setting up, I was having a conversation with your husband in regard of finding your purpose through your purpose. You know what I mean? It's like as you do things and you're intentional in them, like more things become clear and more opportunities rise for you to make the choices easier, or the opportunities that you prayed for to finally coming up, and hopefully you're ready for them.
Absolutely. That is awesome. I did not know you guys had, obviously I wasn't here for that conversation, but it is absolutely amazing because for me, I went into, this for fun, for my passion, for doing it, for one reason, than to realize that there is a much greater purpose. I'm just scratching the surface, like you said, I now know my real purpose. I didn't know then, but I know now, and it's amazing to know something.
So have you always been religious?
So I grew up around 10 or 11 years old. My parents introduced me to church, and so I've always known about God. I've always been brought up. We went to church every Sunday. So I grew up with faith. I did backslide, if that's what you want to call it, right? I had my teenage years all the way up to actually a little later, so like my late 30s. And really all the way, and I've always went to church here and there, but I never became a member after I backslid in my late teenage years, like I said, in my 20s or so. I never was a member again. And so, hey, y'all, I'm 40, right? So I'm just going to put it out there. Up to like 2 years ago, I visited this church. One of my girlfriends actually invited me. And listen.
And I would have never guessed it either, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
It's all right. Listen, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying I'm not one of those. I'm like, hey, you guess my age, or I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm ecstatic about where I'm at and where I'm going to go. So yeah, I gave my life to God, to like officially, wholeheartedly, like one, like it's been just a, I don't want to say a smooth, ride. Absolutely a roller coaster, and it's gonna be, and I'm aware of that.
Okay.
But it's something that I'm just so happy I did. I gave my life to God, and I live for Him. I am completely devoted, and I utterly surrendered to God and His will. Whatever He has in place for me, I'm going to do. You know what I mean? And I think you touched on it a little while ago where it was about a year and a half, close to 2 years that we spoke. And I want to tell you that my journey kind of, you know, um, in my walk, in my Christianity walk, kind of held me back from doing anything other than kind of submitting and to His change, to God's will, to what He wants to do with me. So I didn't want to even, a lot of people ask me, oh, why don't you, go online and do tutorials? And it's just like, I haven't felt it in my heart yet to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because of that, because I'm like, I know my purpose. I know what I'm good at, what God has given me the talent to do, but I don't know how to present that necessarily
Yeah.
until it hit me when I reached back out to you. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to put it out there because this is amazing. And it's to His glory that I'm here doing what I'm doing and spreading His good, loving word to people that need to hear that, you know?
Okay. And
Yeah.
was there? Now you said. So you said there was a point where you regressed, and
Mm-hmm.
was there any specific event in the last 2 years that sparked this?
Yes. Yes, there was a few. Specifically, I can tell you there was a few. Let me tell you, that year before I gave my life to God, the enemy was like attacking not only me, my family, like hard. And like I said, I've always had faith. I've always prayed, like I said, like, when things go bad, you pray.
Mm-hmm.
When things are good, you pray. You never pray in between. I find it, right? Until, I came to God, obviously. And I realized how that relationship, how that communication needs to be steady, needs to be constant. So there was a car, so I got into a car accident. I was drunk this day. Drunk. Don't remember how I got in the car. Drunk. Don't remember. I could have lost my life that day. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When I got into the car accident, this is what I was told. I hit a city bus, New Haven city bus. And my car was surrounded by cops, right? Um, I don't recall. So my husband shows up. I do recall that. And we laugh about it now, of course, right? Because he's telling me, now we
Yeah.
have this conversation. He's like, I was telling you to shut up, stop talking, because I'm obviously inebriated, right?
Yeah.
I'm drunk and I'm talking to the cops and and when I tell you, I did not get a ticket. When I tell you the angels that day was not playing around with me, like they were like, if you don't wake up from this right here, honey, listen,
Well, we
this
don't.
is your wake up call.
We don't know how many signs we're gonna send you if this now can be the
This is
one.
this is like
So,
as real as it could get, right?
mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I laugh about it now, but it was so. It was. I mean, I still to this day, I just give glory and thanks to God, and it was only Him. You can't explain why I didn't get a ticket and I was surrounded by cops. I can't explain why I was having conversation with cops. I don't remember what I was saying. Obviously, I wasn't coherent, and I was, who knows, you know what I mean, tripping and falling over like I said, it was a really terrible position to be in. I was in it.
Yeah.
It happened. And to walk out of there, I didn't, thank God, I didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank God. That's another thing that weighed on me like you wouldn't believe. The from the next day to today. I'm just like, wow. Dear God, I didn't hurt anybody. I don't, like I said, I don't remember getting in the car. Anything could have happened. Anything could happen. Literally anything could have happened, but it didn't. Like I said, I go down to the very detail of I didn't even get a ticket. I don't know how I didn't get a DUI. I don't know how I didn't get arrested. I don't know. I couldn't explain that to you other than it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, God is like, girl, wake up from what I'm telling you. I'm going to use you. Let me use you for the goodness of me, for the greater good, for the glory of God. Let me use you. I have greatness for you, but it's not for me. It's actually for the glory of God, right? But let me use you. Let me use your platform. Let me use your mouth. Let me use your, what you have, the connections that you can build with people and bring them to me, because he's the one that filled me when I was trying to find a void behind alcohol. I was the girl 2 years ago, smoking the hookah. I was her, right? And none of that fulfilled me, not even a little bit, like at all. I mean, not even at the time. You even say, I'm drinking. So at the time, it was like, no, I was even at the time when I was doing it, I completely felt like something. This is not it. This is, and I had, I had my wonderful fiance, my kids, great parents, great, I was surrounded by love, but I was still so empty. I did not know my purpose.
That's real.
Yes. Yes. So that one right there was the one of the main ones. Like I said, there were other things that happened. We got into another car accident. I was not drinking. My husband was driving from the park this day.
It's like I was not. She ain't learned nothing.
It wasn't. What? It took a while. That was the last straw, but it took a while. Shit, this girl didn't learn nothing, man. What?
No, keep going.
So, this particular time, and it was this was again. Oh, so that last one that I told you about my car accident was actually I started going to church. I had just started. It was like my first maybe month of going back consistently, and I still was, doing my thing and whatnot. Because like I always say, it's not your time. It has nothing to do with you and your ideas or your plans. Nothing. When you even just open yourself up to saying, God, you're my savior. I accept you. Do your will in me. He will do. It's either going to be overnight or it's going to be a work in progress, a process, and that's okay. But you're going to notice. You're going to see the difference, and everybody around you will see. So this other particular situation that happened was my family and I were driving from the park, and we got T-boned right on my side, on the passenger side. We were driving perfectly fine. This guy decides to run a red light. Totaled our car, completely totaled our car. I mean, it was smashed, smoking, the airbag flew, all the windows busted. I mean, it was bad. Our car spun around in the middle of Whaley Avenue, in the middle of an afternoon, busy afternoon. And I remember this day. So I had a concussion, so I was a little bit, out of it. But I remember my son, who was about, he's 8 now. So he was about 6.5 at that time. And he was the only one. Now, mind you, he skeeves blood. Like, he can't see blood. He doesn't like blood. He's got a cut. He's like, Mom, you please Band-Aid. I'm like, I got you, baby. Come here, I got you. So he can't. So mind you, I had blood coming down my neck, right? Because I got hit pretty good. 11 staples on the side of my head. Yeah, and so I felt warm, but I didn't know what it was. So when someone tells me, oh, you're bleeding, I kind of grab my jacket and put it over my hair like that to kind of cover it so he won't see it. And he was just cool, calm as a cucumber. Mind you, my son, not nervous, whatsoever. He goes, Mom, the car, that's material. But the angels were with us today. Look at us, we are fine. This is him, 6 years old, told me this. Looked at me in my eyes and my husband. And I would never forget that.
That's
That,
powerful.
yes, that my son was being used that very moment. That wasn't my son speaking. And I can tell you that because, like I said, my son will get, he would be, his nerves would be on 1,000.
Yeah,
He
because
would be, yeah,
the blood is clearly coming
yes.
down, all that. Yeah, it's a high emotion situation for him to, like you said, for him to be so collected in that moment.
Yeah,
It's a lot
yeah,
more going on.
yes. So I know, listen, I know my God was talking to me. He was talking to me. He's like, listen here. Yeah, so I am just full of joy and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful because, I know this is going to touch someone out there. It's gonna tug on somebody's heart to let them know, wow, my purpose isn't my purpose. This world we walk in, the skin that we're in, this is not us. We're all, we're spirits. That's why they call it a spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
That's why the enemy's always out there attacking us. It's not because, I am who I am, right? It's not that. It has nothing to do with me. It's our spirits. The Lord is coming and he wants our spirits to be cleansed by him. He wants us to recognize him. He wants us to surrender to him. He wants us to live for him. It's not no longer me. I'm not searching for my purpose anymore. I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to be fulfilled through God and his word. And just like I said, to spread his word and his goodness. One of my favorite verses is Hebrew 11:1.
Which is, I just to be honest with you, I'm not. I believe in a higher power, but I've never found myself part of a specific organized religion, and that's something that I feel like I want to dive more into, and I need to do my own research into and finding what truly brings me peace.
Absolutely.
But go ahead. What
Absolutely.
is you said Hebrew 11?
Yeah, Hebrews 11:1. It says, now faith is the assurance of things you've hoped for, but the conviction of things you have not seen yet. So faith, yes, faith is something that it's intangible. You can't touch. You just have faith, right? You have faith you're going to stand up and not fall. You have faith that chair right there you're sitting on is not going to come from under your feet, right?
Yeah.
You have, there's just a faith that you have. You know what I mean? You're going to get up and walk out the house and drive, and you just know this. There's no question about it. So that's one of my favorite verses, because in this walk with Christ, I have to have faith. You have to have faith. That is the walk with Christ, having faith. That one day we will encounter him. One day he's gonna ask us, like, what'd you do with what I gave you? How'd you use my, the talent I have allowed you to have? We're gonna have to account for that.
I respect that, and I do one thing, and I'm pretty sure the Bible says something about this in various religions, possibly. But a thing that I'm a firm believer in is that, like, the highest form of living is a life of service, and like we are here to be in service to each
Absolutely.
other. Like, that is root.
Yes.
And that's where, like we talked about doing this, and for me, going back to school and the work that I do, I find a
Yes.
lot of purpose in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Yes. It's to serve others. It's to, give hope. You could turn that off if you want, if it's bothering you. To give hope and to serve others. You know what I mean? And absolutely, and there's so much. The reward is so grand when you are helping someone else versus, someone helping you. Obviously, that's going to be like, wow, that is powerful. Thank you. You know what I mean? You're going to be grateful, but it's a different sort of feel when you get to help someone else and whatever that entails, whether it's just an advice, whether it's just a great big old hug that you give someone that's in need of a hug that you didn't know they needed that hug, right?
Yeah.
But it is just small details and even going out of your way and being intentional. about your service. So yeah, all of those things fall into that. And and like I said, I think there's, well, I didn't say, but there's about 5 questions that we as humans we will never answer. We will die not knowing these answers. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Where did I come from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I mean that to say, you know, and where do I go from here? You know what I mean? All of that goes back to me. This is me now talking. This is just like, because I know those questions are very real that people never really get to answer. I was studying on questions and, and things like that. And I don't know exactly how I came across this, but it was 5 really relevant questions. Like, people ask themselves, who am I? Where did I come from? What's my heritage? What am I meant to be? Who am I meant to be? Am I meant to be like my ancestors? Am I meant to be like a whole different, am I meant to bring some sort of different awareness to my culture, to my race, to my community, and the way I answered that to myself, was I just took those questions and I personalized it. And the one question that I came up with wasn't an answer. It was another question. It was, does it matter?
Mm.
Truly, does it matter where you came from? Does it matter what, does any of that matter when you honestly say tomorrow, your purpose, right? When you don't know what that is. So does any of that matter if you don't know where your soul, where your spirit is going at the end of the day? Because I can have all this information, but if the one thing I don't know isn't answered, I can't answer it for myself, which is what happens tomorrow when I pass with all those questions. What happens with, my talent and the doors I'm trying to open up for either my community or my children to push forward, my business and then in God's word, right? Does all of that matter if I don't know where I'm going tomorrow, where my soul is going tomorrow, where my spirit is going
So then,
tomorrow?
how do you find solace or peace in your today?
Yeah, so my solid, let me tell you, I've searched and I've tried to read up on it. I've tried to sit silently and meditate and pray and try to convince myself when the answer was always in God. That's my take on it. That's what I have experienced because no one can explain the situation, the very real situations that happened in my life other than God wants my soul and my spirit to, forever, for an everlasting life, in other words. And my job here on earth, aside from doing what I love, is giving people hope and peace and a road that they can follow through the Bible, through scripture. That was my only solace. That was the only thing that gave me that, that almost that awakening sense of purpose, that sense of who you really are is not who you think you are. It's not what they tell you. It's not what you're wearing. You wear these Jordans, you wear, all these Abercrombie. That's not who you are,
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day. So,
So no,
it's,
oh, I like that. I like that because we spend most of our lives trying to figure that out. But
yes.
um, to your point, like, does all that stuff matter?
Mm,
Like, I, f- I try to bring positivity through my actions. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? But like, I spend so much time questioning, like, if I'm who I say I am, or if people see me as who I
Mm-hmm.
portray to be, or like if those two things are in sync,
Yes,
But like,
yes.
and you can really lose yourself in that.
Yes, yes. And like I don't take from that because I care what people think of me. You know what I mean? That's
Mm-hmm.
why I try to, you know, you know, intentionally speak, talk, walk, surround myself by certain people. You know, because I do care. So we should care, you know, as far as that goes, because it's a life of I don't care who thinks of me or what is not really the truth. You know,
Yeah,
you really all do. We all care. And
but I think it's finding the right people.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yes, absolutely. And everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journeys, they're so beautiful. That's why conversations are so important to have because your journey may be nothing of what I thought, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it would be for you. And in talking to you, I'm just like this amazing person that is going to touch people significantly, you know. I have the privilege to talk to and hear his journey, you know, and take something from our conversation. And that is important. Like we can't just none of that is minute. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I said about does that matter is that to me nothing tangible or nothing that anyone has to say should take value over, you know, or precedence over, you know, my goal of serving Christ,
No, and I like that,
essentially.
and I don't, and I want you to think that that's lost on me because
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't
I
think
get where you're
so.
going because like it's our experiences that really shape us,
Absolutely.
and in these
Yes,
conversations we can share that. Like
yes.
you said, I wouldn't have known what's driving Tender Time Candles,
Mm-hmm. Right.
what the things that you went through in the last 2-3 years that
Mm-hmm.
reinforced you,
Mm-hmm.
that rebuilt your foundation and allow you to um,
Absolutely.
connect with different nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
host workshops at your church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
I
yes.
learned all that through your conversation, and I also
Mm-hmm.
get like, and I really want to emphasize like the things that I was talking on were the things that you specifically mentioned right now,
Mm-hmm.
um, the superficial stuff, like
Yeah. Right. I see. Yeah.
how you try to portray yourself because you wear Jordans or
Yeah,
because you might
right.
wear something or you carry yourself in a certain way in
Mm-hmm.
hopes that people think that you're this when
Correct. Yeah.
be you, love you, and you'll when you're in that purpose, you start
Mm-hmm.
that perspective starts to shift. You know what I mean? And then you
Absolutely.
can
Naturally.
and then you can really align yourself with
Mm-hmm.
um, people that you hope see you for actually you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So
That is key.
and that's why I'm
Yes.
thankful of these conversations.
Absolutely. I am too. Like I said, I am so grateful to have met you. You taking your time to, you know, have conversations with me. Like I said, and even, you know, aside from me, you know, you got to know a little bit about my husband and that's just who you are. And that's why I think you're absolutely, I mean, besides that this is what you do, but you have, you know,
Thank you.
greater things coming your way for sure.
I
You
appreciate that.
know?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't want you to think that we're done yet because
Yeah,
I got some more
that's
questions for you.
fine. That's fine.
When was the last time your faith was challenged?
Um, I'm gonna be honest. My faith challenged. So I want to say that I have gone through quite, you know, quite a few challenges, and I say that even just growing up, and as I, you know, stated earlier, I grew up having faith. I grew up, you know, knowing of God because there's a difference now that I understand is knowing God and knowing of God. So knowing of God rather, and always having like that fear, and it was a healthy fear where it was just like, oh gosh, you know, oh my gosh, you know, like God, I love you, you know, even though I did wrong or whatever the case is, it's just that was always playing in my mind. But till this day, so I have in total, I didn't even disclose this earlier, but I have 4 kids, so 4 beautiful kids. You met 2 of them. My other two are older. So I have a 21 and a 17-year-old. And My faith was definitely challenged throughout. I was previously married. So yeah, you know a lot. You're gonna find out a lot about me
Okay,
today.
here we go. Here we go.
Listen, this is what it is, right? It's the real talk. So my faith was challenged big time when I was going through horrible divorce and even worse custody battle. So it was definitely, and I hadn't given my life completely. I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't surrendered my life through that period, but I had that fear of God and I knew of God, right? So even then, my faith never wavered. I always said, it is your will. God, it is your will. Whatever I'm going through, it is your will. Whatever, happens, because this is another thing I realize is not everything is God's fault. Not everything is the enemy's fault. There is life. There's this thing called life that we're living in. That we were born into. Choices, that you have to kind of just confront. You have consequences because of your choices.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that being said, everybody always asked me, like, girl, you should. And I think that was part of why I was drinking. Honestly.
I respect it. 'Cause
That-
sometimes we find some way to
yes.
cope, right?
Yes. It was a coping mechanism, right? I was like, I listen, but they were just more so people that knew me were just like, you haven't like broken. Like you've been in court for the past 8 years. This is torture. Like seeing you call out of work every 3 days a month. Could take a toll on anyone.
Wow, yeah.
Especially I don't look forward to going to court. I don't know anybody that does.
Nobody's looking forward to showing up.
Right? Not even jury duty. Never mind.
I said it on my podcast a couple of months ago. I still haven't done jury duty. I don't think they're gonna get me, but let's.
Yes. Okay. Listen, you're not missing out. You're not missing out. So yeah, and so I say all of that to say that even, then when I wasn't in the Christian walk, I just knew that that God had a purpose. I knew He had a reason. I knew He was working through everything. I knew that He was going to use my testimony of, you know what? Yeah, sure, you have faith because you have it all. Sure, you have faith because you have 2 healthy kids and a great husband and a business that, God is now opening doors for you. Sure, but what happens when your faith is challenged or tested, and and like I said, it was many years, and I'll tell you something, I never questioned, the reasoning behind anything that I'm going through or anything that I will ever go through, because God has a purpose for that.
And do you feel the situation played out favorably?
No. No, it did not. It did not whatsoever. And that's why people still around me even, are intrigued and kind of question on how, nothing has wavered you from, what you speak of. And because it goes so deep into the unknown. It's almost like I said, that verse is faith. You can't see faith, Trust, you can't see trust. You can't see, hope. You have hope, right? But you can't see it. So I'm not, like I said, I'm so, how do I say this? I am so, there's just so many, I'm so flawed. There you go. I'm so flawed that brings me again to God's grace and the faith. I'm so flawed, but God loves me. I'm so flawed, but God still uses me. I'm so flawed that, sometimes I do ask why, but I come to, understanding and knowing. And that to me is just, it's a whole different, like I said, God is not something that we can put like in a box. It's something that we can't understand. We will never understand. I know I would never, I can never comprehend, you know, him fully, there's questions that I may have till, you know, like I said, till I come to and face him and say, I have questions. Like, why was it?
It's like I was
you
going
know?
through it, and I was faithful. I was hopeful. I held out.
So, but what happened? What really happened? What was your plan? Let me know, because I never found them. No, so it wasn't favorable because, so I say that to say that it took many years. So we're here now, 2024, and my oldest son and I have a good relationship. I feel like he recognized, everything that happened. He was so young when it did happen. And then I say I have two, right? My 17-year-old is still yet to knock on my door. So that's why I say not yet. But I know it will. I know it will happen. And I'm extremely hopeful. And when it does, it's going to be beautiful. And I'll be calling you like, can you come back? I got to tell you something. I got to talk to you real quick. I told you. But no, yeah, I say that because throughout the challenging process of, of divorce and the custody battle, I did feel for a while there, I lost. And if you know the definition of lost is completely having something out of your grasp, not seeing it, not touching it, not talking to it. I lost my kids for a while. So, although that was, like I said, something that should have just knocked me down and out, for good, it didn't. I still hold that very near and dear, that when that time comes for my second son, it's going to be, listen, a celebration in heaven, because I'm going to be praising him. No, I praise him still because I know that day is going to happen. So yeah.
I love that.
So that was
that homecoming is on its way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I usually ask people for like two reference or two contacts that I can speak to about them or ask questions. And your contacts, they had a similar theme, was that you do a lot. You feel like super mom to them. So between being a wife, a mother, a mentor, an entrepreneur, and still working a full-time job. Like, that's a lot to have going on. How do you balance?
I don't know how I balance. I wish I had an answer. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I did it today. I did my thing. I really did. I got to say, okay, a tip. And it's not to answer your question, but a tip. I write everything down. Literally. Like, I'm just like, okay. Obviously, I don't write down I'm going to work from this time to that time, because that's where I hope I would be. I wake up on Monday. I'm going to get dressed.
Some places you got to show up.
I think I'm going to be there. Yeah. So this time I think I'm going to be there. So, but other than that, if I'm going to, work on my projects here in my business, I write that down. Work on my business from this hour to that hour. Do homework from this hour to this hour. Spend some time with the kids from this hour to that hour. Spend some time with my honey from this hour to that. You know what I mean? And then a little bit of me time. From this. So I'm intentional with writing stuff down like that. But how I do it, I don't know how, because there's only 24 hours. And I do get only about 5 hours sleep. So, but it's fun though. No, like I said, it's tedious. It's fun. Sometimes I have my days where I'm like, I need a nap, honey. Come home right from work. I just need a nap. And I'm not a napper, but I just need, and I have to, to kind of recharge.
No, I respect that. All right. And being so busy, where do you find inspiration, other than your son, of course, for the candles, butters, or the creations that you come up with?
Like I said, in talking to people, I never take that for granted, because they always, because a lot of people that I'm, close with, I spent time with, they know, about my business. They know, what my goals are, whatnot. So I just talk to them. I'm like, So they actually bring up, what do you think about this? Have you ever thought of, doing this or that? Like that lady I said was telling me, oh, you're going to be doing soaps. And I'm like, no, like I can't fit anything else here in my in my room, let alone to start some a new project, right? So I'm inspired by others, for sure. Like when I have conversation, people will actually just naturally be like, well, have you ever thought about doing like uh, lotions or, soaps or anything? And some things I'm just like a straight no. I don't even try to like entertain it. I'm
It's
like,
like
no, it's scary, no. But, in all honesty, some things just kind of click. And I'm like, okay, it's not, oh, it's a really good idea.
I can make that work.
I might work. Let me see if I can squeeze it in. Let me just play around with it and see what I come up with. And,
Okay.
Yeah. So it goes from there.
I saw a video on your Instagram. It was like recommendations of telling us to cut our candle wicks so
Oh,
they
yeah.
burn properly. I Somebody told me that before, but I feel like I just completely forgot that, or I'm just lazy and I'm
That's
just being
hilarious.
honest. But like,
Yeah.
it reminds me of that because like my candles they burn crazy because of that.
Yes.
So, is there any other advice you have when it comes to candles?
That's hilarious. So, well, for my candles, for when I always tell, I was kind of like, give a heads up. My candles kind of tend, because they're so fancy, they tend to kind of drip over, the glass once you light it, if you light it. I get this all the time. I'm gonna buy your candle, but I'm never gonna light it because they just love it for decoration, for decor, which is fine. It's fine. I'm okay. I'm like, no, just burn it so you can come back,
Right,
right? I'll
right.
make you another one. Um, but no, I just tell them, I'm like, okay, make sure that the surface, you keep them away
Okay.
from close, from any, even if you think it's a little bit far away from the window and you have a curtain and it happens to, I mean, it's just little things like that people just, they know, but they kind of sometimes tend to forget. We're busy people.
No, I get
It
you.
happens.
Just being cautious.
Yes.
Um, Side note: your anniversary is coming up. How does it feel?
Amazing. Amazing. I have to say, oh my God, it's so funny because I had this one question, right, from my coworker, and she was telling me how, we always talk and we have, even in my job, we have prayer time. And they look forward to that, by the way. I don't make anybody. Like, oh, here she comes. So they look forward to it. They actually told me, hey, it's 10:30. I'm like, oh my God, yes, 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 let's go. So we have this time when we pull together. And we just talk, we dialogue, we stop what we're doing, and we have prayer, but we also dialogue. And she goes, "Why is it I gotta ask you this? Why is it every time you refer, and not that I'm hating, but every time you refer to your husband, everything is PG cream? Like, I don't get. I feel like there's something, like it's something you're not telling us." And I'm like, "No, you'll know if it's not peachy cream, right? I ain't gonna come in here laughing and smiling. No, but I have to say we have such a good connection from the first day that it was just like he supports me 1,000% in everything that I do. I support him 1,000% in everything that he does. He's a great photographer. He's a fantastic dad. He's so involved with great husband. He just, in every way, when I mean spiritually, physically, emotionally, I tell him, I need 5 minutes. I just need to kind of like vent. He's the person I go to. So that's, it makes it all that much easier, I have to say.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's
So I'm
beautiful.
excited.
That's awesome. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day
Thank
together.
you. Thank you.
Is there anything you would like to say that I didn't give you the opportunity to?
Oh man. No, I think this conversation went, you know, it was really it was a great conversation. I mean, you gave me, things to think about, asked some great questions. I feel like we spoke a lot
Okay.
about, yeah, I don't think I had an expectation. I was just like, "Ooh, I can't wait to meet him, I can't wait. I don't know the questions that he's going to ask, but hey,
We try to keep it natural and engaging.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have I've watched your podcast and I just feel like it's a very chill environment.
Thank you.
Anyhow,
Thank you.
you know what I mean? Like you're just welcoming your questions always give some people food for thought, or people food for thought rather, give you something to think about, and they're really engaging. So like I said, I didn't know whatsoever what to expect, but
Okay.
I knew that it was going to be good.
All right. What message do you have right now for the person you plan to be in the future?
What message do I have right now for the person, for myself in the future? Okay. Well, I would tell myself, let's see. Oh man, this is a really good one. I would tell myself, I guess, you kept your faith. You stood your ground. Look at how far God got you.
I love it.
That's it.
Um, where can we find you?
Social media. Okay, so my website should be up and running hopefully by this weekend, which is tendertimecandles.com. You can find me at tendertimecandle. I'm sorry, at Instagram, tender_time_candles. And on Facebook is Tender Time. For some reason, it's together. I didn't purposefully write it like that, but for some reason, it wouldn't let me separate. So Tender Time Candles in Facebook.
Okay. Okay. And the emotion I wanted to share today that I just felt fit. I actually used this one before, but I just go through my emotion book and I just choose an emotion that I feel like resonates with the person.
Okay.
And it was mudita.
Mudita. Okay.
Mudita. And it's joy in the success of others. You know?
Mm.
And I think.
And what language is that, mudita? Like, what
Um,
is it?
I would say I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the specific language, but Gautama Buddha was
Okay.
somebody that specifically used it. So it
Okay.
may be Indian.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right.
But I think of that when I think of like the candles, because like there's certain things where you give to people, right? And you hope that they're going to enjoy it in a certain way,
Yes.
right? Because tender time candles, I think you say specifically you want to evoke our greatest feeling,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Through the perfect aroma.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah. Yes. Yes.
So that's what I think of when I think of tender time candles.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Mudita. Mudita.
But this is something to hold us, where our mission is to bring us closer to our emotions, to not only understand who we are, but who we want to be. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.